Hey guys, this video is going to take you through the 8 sessions that we spent with this little mare. She is an 8-year-old pony who presented with 3 main issues, I guess, that her owner wanted us to address. The first one was problems with catching, so she was renowned for being quite difficult to catch in a variety of spaces, and secondly, she was also kind of a nervous or spooky horse, but not consistently. So we were asked if we could look at that, and then she was here for starting under saddle as well. So in the next few little clips, you'll see us working through all of those themes, I guess. This was her first session that we recorded. She had a little session in a yard that was all about catching, which went so smoothly. It was done in like 2 minutes, so we didn't include it here or as part of her training progress. But this session was like her first let's get to know you session and feel each other out and try and develop a little bit of communication, so that if I was to catch her, continuously for her stay here and work with her successfully, we had a few strategies in place to assist with that if a problem ever arose. Moving over to day 2, it was a really, really rainy, horrible day, but I thought I'll get her out anyway because, it's going to have rainy days her whole life. So on this day I introduced her to a crate. I can't remember if I'd been told or I'd read somewhere that crates were problematic for her, or at least had been. And you can see as I go to change levels and kind of get up above her there, she does get a bit nervous, but she didn't seem too nervous about the crate, more so about me changing levels. So I'm just working on her softness. We introduced the concept of flexing I think in the first session, so she's got that little skill there for me to check in and see, is she flexible and soft in her mind, and then is that kind of moving down into her body. So this is kind of a preparation for ride. So on day 3 we became a little bit more dynamic, and I started introducing more movement up above her back there. It was a beautiful day, so a really good day to get stuff done. What I'm doing here would be akin to, I guess, the friendly game if you're into Pirellis. So she's starting to understand when is the equipment meaning something, so when is there energy involved and when is it just moving and she doesn't need to respond. And I think for a nervous horse it's really good for them to understand that difference of the other thing is that she'd been a broodmare as well for her whole life. So broodmares tend to be a little bit more skeptical and a little bit more alert for danger. It's part of their makeup. So it is good for her to know when her environment is interacting with her, or, when she's quite safe and it can all just happen. So her owner had saddled her up before, I think. So I'm fairly confident that this had happened for her before, and she was really fine with it. I just wanted her to know that, this could happen in her time and she could really feel it out, sniff the saddle, sniff the blanket, have it go on and off from both sides as well, so that she didn't just become one-sided, and give her a break in between so that she didn't feel that the saddle going on meant, more pressure was coming her way. I used the cone quite a bit with this little horse because I knew it was something that she was confident in doing, and so it meant that she could have success straight away. So every time something new was presented to her, like the saddle or bending or whatever, she could go back and put her foot on the cone, which was something that she'd really mastered, and we could retain her confidence that way. Now I'm just repeating the same stuff that I did, the day before. You can see there's a little bit of nervousness in her there. Just changing levels and talking to her, bending, just doing all the things that we've already done so that she's got a bit of success. And now when I get up onto the crate, I'm using a little bit more energy like I would if I was going to swing over. I'm using the crate a lot because one, we kind of thought it was problematic for her. Also because she's a little pony and you know, she's quite round. People are probably going to use crates to mount her, so it's good that she can understand to stand next to it and be fine with that. You probably just saw she had a little run off. I thought she was ready for that. She was happy with me lying over her, but the momentum of me like springing up was a little bit much for her. So we went back and worked on it again, and by the end of this session she was fine with that, and I love that she was still willing to bend. Yeah, there you go, she's happier now. I love that she was still willing to bend and work through that problem rather than check out completely. So that was a really positive little step for her. She was still so willing the whole time, and quite lovely on this day. It was a really successful day for her. On day 4, I introduced Joey into the equation because I'm getting really close to riding her at this point, and I wanted Joey to, like, I guess kind of show her what was happening. Thinking about it, you know, she's been a broodmare her whole life. I wasn't sure that she's ever actually had the opportunity to see a horse be ridden, and I thought maybe working with her with another horse that's quite developed and very confident and loves people could only really be beneficial in kind of connecting the dots for her and letting her see what's next. So yeah, Joey was really great for this. They weren't really very good friends at this point, but through using him in her training, it helped them bond and became a really solid strategy for us in starting this little girl. So what I'm doing here is just kind of riding Joey as I normally would, and just doing the things I would normally do, and he's just being really calm about it, and she's doing whatever she feels like she needs to do to be safe. But eventually she gets a little bit curious about, you know, why Joey isn't responding in a similar fashion, which kind of gets her curious, and then she gets a bit engaged and wants to participate. So that was quite nice to see in her. You know, she a little bit wants to follow us around and check it out, and yeah, it was a really nice way of introducing her to the next step. Another another benefit of using another horse in her training was being able to communicate with her from a different level. So basically, you know, talking to her from a similar position that I would be when I'm riding her, and having her understand those directions coming from, you know, up above her back rather than, you know, what she would be used to historically, like in front of her or from the side of her. And they're getting in a little rhythm there, which is quite nice as well. And she's sticking to us a lot more and really feeling for how I'm bending and where I'm going from that other level, like up above her back. So I got off Joey and tied him up and just went through all the things that she'd done the day before to preserve her confidence. And then we started being a little bit more directive. So getting her to do her favourite thing of putting her foot on the cone from above Joey and having her understand the halt and, you know, bending left and right. And then I thought a fun way to end this session off would be to have Joey lay down in front of her to show her like the ultimate in a horse that's confident around people, and with really happy results. Joey was like, yes, I love to lay down, this is the best. And in the spirit of her learning and these new ideas that we're really interested in, she thought it would be a good idea to lay down too, which was so nice to see. So day 5, things are getting pretty serious for this little girl. She's starting to ride with Joey and ride out and do her favourite thing, put her foot on the cone, but she's going to get ridden today. So I'm just checking, is everything still really solid? What mood is she in? Joey is cool as a cucumber, as always, and she kind of picked up on his vibe, and you can see what she wasn't okay with yesterday with the stick and string flying around and all of this. Today she's super happy with. We missed a little bit of footage, I'm not sure what happened to it, but I got up on her, she was so happy, and we just started doing all the things that she already knew, so there were no surprises. Can you bend left? Can you bend right? Can you understand to put your foot on the cone? So after a very, very happy first ride, the next day we took her out for a really dynamic session where I could check out how we're going to go with steering and riding in open spaces. Joey's a little bit miffed that this whole thing isn't about him. We went over a few jumps on this day with her following Joey. We had the dogs around us and she took everything all in her stride. We've just come over that jump. Up on the bridge, doing all the fun things. And this is really great because I can talk to her from that other level. When we got back to the round yard, we started working on movement. So, you know, backwards, forwards, left, right, moving off the feel. And mostly having fun on this day. This was the best day. The footage of day 7 went missing, so we're on day 8. Day 7 was a lot of what I'm doing with Joey right now, so helping the little mare with movement from the ground. So understanding left and right again through this figure 8 pattern, and yeah, just a lot of transitions like up and down with the saddle online on the ground. On day 8, which was her last training session with us, I wanted Simon to work with her so that we could just kind of gauge how transferable her skill set was. So yeah, he's doing a great job using all the same techniques I would, but everybody is different. So, you know, he's got a slightly different energy, slightly different way of presenting himself to the horse, but she responded really well and kind of enjoyed figuring him out as much as he enjoyed figuring her out. On this day we tried to even her up a little bit as well, so Simon, you'll see when he goes to mount up, he's very particular about showing her everything from the left side and the right side. So particularly with a skeptical horse like her, it's important to make sure that they don't just think mounting happens from the left, that it's just a solid skill. You can mount up from the left, from the right, or like with Joey, you know, from the rump, from the neck. It's all one and the same. Interestingly, you know, she really required Simon to prove himself before he was allowed to just get up there, but once he did that, she was very willing. Our other old buckaroo, Valentina, she's having a little roll, having a fun time. So yeah, that was her session with Simon, and then he handed over the reins to me. I was itching to ride her again. She's so comfortable, and she's got a much longer stride than Joey, and I just loved riding her. So off we go, out and around, away from the other horses, which was quite nice, and she didn't feel at all herd bound or willing, needing to come back. And then we worked on her backup, which she struggled with at first when I first introduced this to her on the ground and under saddle, but by this day she was really confident, and I love how she keeps herself so straight. We go for a little walk around, disengage the hindquarters, bring the forequarters across. It's more of a dynamic movement on this day under saddle, and as always giving her lots of breaks, checking in with her, Joey photobombing as usual. And yeah, she was an absolute star on this day. So when I get off her, I take the saddle off, I give her a big old break, and yeah, she just gets to chill out. So thank you for watching. As ever, any questions, just pop them in the comments. I hope all of that made sense. I hope you learned something. I hope it was inspiring. And yeah, happy horsing, I guess. Thanks, guys.